On this episode of Mighty Car Nuggets, I'm bringing back one of my all-time favourite cars. This is a story that begins over a decade ago in a scrap metal pile at the back of a car dealership in the North Island of Japan. Let me tell you a little bit about how we found this car.
What was meant to be a fun weekend thrash ended up as a long-term, multi-continent commitment. As little Daihatsu Mira, we modded and drifted under rainbows, got chopped in half and sent to Australia on pallets. We stripped the two halves and stuffed all that turbo four-wheel drive goodness into a local base model Mira, which was a massive job. Now, being from the snowy North Island of Japan, rust was a bit of an issue in the donor car, but we sorted that out with acid and fire. We then transplanted the sheet metal into the Aussie car, which was a huge job that was helped along by some mates and all done on the floor of our shed. The car finally drove again, but it was too awesome to leave it looking like a budget initial D delivery Kei car. So I spent a few weeks at a paint shop making it look as good as I possibly could. And pretty soon it was finished. With a few minor touch-ups, the car was looking better than ever. We put custom-made wheels on it, redid the stickers, and I drove this thing for years without a single problem.
So a monstrous amount of work went into getting this thing onto the road, but it wasn't all smooth sailing, and some of the 30-year-old technology started to show its age, and the car would just not run right. So I pulled a few bits off, and this is where we ended up. So I started to dig deeper and deeper to try and work out why the thing wouldn't idle properly. I was having boost control issues, I was having all sorts of weirdness as I was driving on the road, and it turns out pretty much everything here was broken. And as I pulled parts off, I would find other bits that were just worn out, old, clogged up, and not working properly. That was obviously a problem straight away. The ECU I was having dramas with, I was getting check engine lights. The power steering, it has electric power steering, a very old version. This was also failing and it would cut in and out. Then I noticed there was a lot of hoses that were sort of old and brittle or cracked. Then I started pulling wiring looms apart. I noticed that that was also cracked, some connectors weren't working properly. Little top mount intercooler, nothing really wrong with it, but it's not ideal when you're trying to make power. And as you can see, a whole bunch of hoses. This is late 80s and early 90s technology to make a little turbo car work. And look how much of it there is. And that's not even all of it, but all these little valves and springs and sensors and stuff from when they were just sort of working out how to control stuff with computers properly. This was really at a point where I just thought, I have to wipe the slate clean and try and do it better. And it turns out the solution was 3D printing. I didn't want to lose all the purity of the car and just engine swap it with something really modern and brand new, which is probably the right way to do it. I wanted to try and keep some of the stuff that makes the Mira the Mira. That means keeping that single cam turbo engine, keeping the exhaust, keeping the turbo, keeping everything that's already been done, and modifying the air on the way in to modernize it. Now you might be wondering, what is that giant thing on there? That is an electronically controlled throttle body. So instead of using this old thing, which as you can see has like an idle circuit that's controlled by coolant and a TPS and a bunch of valves and stuff on it, it just turns it into something really modern and nice like that. And this is a prototype that between myself and Miles from Flux 3D made, and then once we were happy with that, we sent it off and got it made into a CNC part that adapts the old manifold to the throttle body. And the only other thing I've done here is chuck some RX-8 injectors into it. Just some factory style injectors that will supply enough fuel. They also cost nothing because they were ones that were just lying around that I got secondhand back in the day. So the plan is to put this on and essentially EFI convert that so we've still got the original pure engine, it still revs and does everything it used to do, and make it much, much nicer to drive. Let's see. And while I've got everything apart, we might even look to add a front mount to get a bit more flow through. It normally has a top mount intercooler, they do heat soak, and as you can see, it is tiny. Now the front mount's not much bigger, but you can get a lot more flow through it, and it's pretty easy to get the pipes in and down there. So come on this modification adventure. I actually have no idea how this is gonna work. I have no idea how it's gonna turn out. I'm just gonna go for it. I'm bringing you guys along for the ride. This is full Nugget spec, but this is also the fun bit. Now you're probably wondering, why are you EFI converting a car that's already EFI? And I did hold up a factory computer before, and this is quite an early EFI system. It means it still has a distributor like this, with the ignition leads coming off it, and one coil. And the one coil supplies here and it fires the correct cylinder at the correct time. The ECU gets its information off this little thing. You can see it's got 3 teeth here for cylinder 1, 2, and 3. What it doesn't have is a reset. So the computer doesn't actually know exactly where the engine is, and it doesn't really care. It goes, I'm gonna fire now, my ignition, I'm gonna fire my fuel now, and it all just works. I wanna go sequential, I wanna go a bit more modern, which doesn't make the engine feel more modern and gives you more precise control, better fuel economy, and better power sometimes as well. So I'm gonna reuse some of this, and I'm actually gonna modify this and modify this so we get a signal that is more accurate that we can use. Never done it before, so I'm learning as I go. But basically the intake side of it is one thing, getting the air in there and using the e-throttle, running a new pedal. Wiring it is another thing, and then getting this information into the Haltech is the last piece of the puzzle. Everything else should just be basically bolt back together, but this is still gonna be a bit tricky. Front bar is coming off because there is so much access to the front of this engine. And that's actually the way you change the oil filter as well. There's a little access port here in the back of the bumper bar, but that means we can get to turbo, we can get to everything else. There's also aircon in this, which I don't think I'm ever going to use because I don't have much room in the engine bay as it is, but that can stay there for now and get access to all this. This is a dump pipe I made, so it does have a 2.5-inch exhaust from the turbo back. Turbo we're going to look at later. That works fine. There's no leaks, there's no leaky seals. It's all happy. And upgrading to a bigger one means you lose a lot of space here. So we'll look at intercoolers, we'll look at other things in the meantime. But for now, intake on, and start to sort of work out where everything's going to go. Plus there's a couple of parts I'm waiting for. They're coming from overseas. So my custom design and CNC part is what makes this all possible, but the factory manifold can go back on and sit down in here. And then the fun begins, because I'm going to work out how to make everything else work.
I went with Mazda RX-8 injectors because they will have plenty of headroom on this tiny turbo 3-cylinder. They're also cheap, and there's heaps of information out there on how to set them up properly. This will give us great control over the fuel, and with that electronic throttle, great control over the air.
While I'm here, any old hoses that I can replace, I'm going to replace. I already did heater hoses on it before. I've just done the fuel return, which is a tiny 1/4-inch little return, and this is the reason why you don't put a massive fuel pump on these, because you'll overwhelm the return, which means you just got too much fuel. I'll use the factory reg because it's built into the rail, and that is one that's a rising rate regulator, so we put a vacuum signal from here to there, and as the boost goes up, so does the fuel pressure. Hopes that'll work just fine. I never actually had any fuel delivery problems with it. It was more to do with the electronics was the issue, and it does have a new pump in it from when we originally did the conversion. So new fuel pipes in there. I'll do the new source as well. The fuel filter's up here, which is interesting. So it goes all the way through a hard line from the tank up to here, up to the firewall, and then back down around, and then I think it goes in through there. So replace that hose as well. We're well on our way.
Many project cars that get pulled off the road like this one never make it back, and often it's because the project became too ambitious. So the focus for this is simple: get the EFI working and get it driving again.
That is the original map sensor, which we'll no longer be able to use because that is not going to go over a bar of boost, and hopefully the car will when we're done. So we can actually make the Haltech talk to that, but it's much easier just to use the one that's on board the ECU already.
As tempting as it is to throw this entire stock setup in the bin and start again, I'm going to approach the build of this car in stages and first focus on getting air in and out of the engine. So that means it's time for one of my favourite power and aesthetic modifications: front mount intercooling.
Here's my thinking for the front mount intercooler. It's tempting to put it in the front because it would look cool, except a few reasons. One, the oil filter's right in the middle. Two, if I cut that out, I lose my access to the oil filter. I also lose one of my mounting points. What I do have is a whole lot of space over here. So I guess technically it's like a front side mount intercooler. So I'm going to place it and tuck it right in there. Then I'll be able to bring this pipe across and up out of the turbo, although I'm actually thinking of rotating the front cover of the turbo if I can. Then this side will have to go across, down and under. There's a big giant fog light in here, so I'll probably have to go down, which is fine, there's plenty of room. It'll be worth it, partly for the sound, because longer intercooler pipes, forget lag, they do make a very awesome dose noise, and I'm just all about that. It looks like the intercooler will go there. I'll get some little straps to mount that with, to sit it like that. And then the bumper bar will go over the top. And in the meantime, I'm going to try and rotate the front cover of this turbo, so instead of pointing up, it points down.
good is it to be on the Nuggets again, Martin?
So good. The only thing you ever need is a 10mm socket for basically the entire front of the car.
Which is a perfect segue for the best and only keyring you're ever going to need, which is the little Mighty Car Mods. Look at this, little 10mm. I can even use it, Martin. I can use it right now. Look at this, except that's doing it up, and we want to go this way.
You want the non-logo side is undo. That's an easy way to tell, isn't it?
That is good. Look at that. These are available right now. They're on our website. We're going to link to them down below. Martin, that's a little intercooler. What?
What does it sound like?
Oh.
That's different.
Is it? All right. And anyway, this light can now come out.
I hope so.
Almost. It's got a little plug on the back of it here
right.
that needs to be pressed out.
So that's going to have to come out because that's about the only way that I reckon we're going to get an intercooler pipe back in. Because the other option is to come up and over and around and back through here, but that puts it too close to the exhaust. I've seen other people who go down this way and under the car, but then you're lower than your lowest point, which means your intercooler pipe is going to be the first thing that hits the ground when you scrape it on something.
Martin, pull that while I press from behind because it feels so attached.
Have you got the little doodle at the back? Or has it got like a little plug thing?
No, it's this. See this plug here? It's because it's been jammed in, that one there. See that?
All right, yeah. Is that what's holding it in, just that little thing?
I think so, mate.
Wow.
There we go.
There we go.
Thank you very much. We know where that one's going.
In the bin.
Not going in the bin, dude. They're the ones we got from Malaysia. Those lights, they're aftermarket ones. I don't know if you remember how ugly the glass
They look
ones
great.
were.
No, I do. I'm just joking with you, Martin.
So the plan is for the cooler here. And look, does it need a front mount? Have we discussed that yet?
Yes, it does.
That's the answer.
Yep.
They just sound better. Because look at this. Oh, look, this is a perfect way to compare.
Wow.
Oh, that's got 30 years of like, who knows what jammed through it.
Yeah.
Which is now in your body. So that's kind of all you need to know. Size-wise, not that different. But it's going to sound better too, which is what I'm all about with intercoolers.
You know what's funny is just how little it is, Martin. And I think my Boosty Boy t-shirt is kind of a one-to-one. So can you see the size difference, Martin, between my shirt? Is my shirt even bigger than your actual turbo? Can you check it?
I'll get my shirt. Watch this. Look. Let's look. I think the dude on the front. Oh no, the dude on the back. Here we go. It's actually Boosty Boy, dude. Look at him.
Look at him go.
He needs the eyes, doesn't he? Do you think he needs the little eyes? And then he can be Boosty Boy on the Mira?
There he is.
Because he's kind of spiritually, like, that's where he should be, isn't it?
So, intercooler piping, that's going to give us some
Couple of little
choo-choo.
freckles. There he goes.
But Martin, look how
Look at
small the intercooler piping is.
Look at him.
Can you show us your mad mods over here, Martin?
Yeah, so the plan is we've got 1.5 inch pipe, which is hilariously small. So small that it's hard to get like cast bends. This is kind of all you can get. So I may have to go 2 inch out of the intercooler. But from the turbo, that's the size of the outlet of the turbo. So into the intercooler, there's not much point going bigger. So we'll go from one... He's washing his mouth out in the intercooler grind.
Sorry, as you were.
Tastes good. So 1.5 into the intercooler from the turbo, and then out of the turbo, if there's room, we'll be into a 2 inch pipe. And just to show you, look at the difference.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Still small, but there's a relative difference.
Is that even 1 inch? Maybe that's even smaller. Anyway, I do have a bunch of these, but I've also got them in black, which looks way better. So I had to put a flexi one between the turbo and the cooler because the engine will move and the turbo will move, but the cooler won't because it's stuck to the car. And now the next step is to get up and out of the intercooler with something like this.
How do you get past the radiator though?
Well, that's it. So we're probably going to go S15 style and put a hole here. And because it's going to be the neatest to come up here and then into the intake.
Yeah.
Any other way is yuck. Like you've got to come through this bit, but then you've got, like, what do you do with this pipe? That's all a bit yuck as well. And then you've got to go out and around.
So through here then, like
I
under
reckon
the light?
here. Yeah, a lot of people do it in Miras just here because it's just, like, it's not structural in there or anything. It's just a bit of sheet metal. The other option is to go down and under. But then also in this bumper bar, because it's the mad JDM bar, we've got these big fog light things to deal with here.
Yeah, okay.
So the pipe's going to kind of end up going right up against it. But I think it'll work. So I'm going to put a really tight 90 degree on here, which I've cut out a hole for already. That's now 2 inch. Maybe I should have kept it 1.5, but hey, whatever. So we're going to go 2 inch out of here and then up under the headlight. The pipe will continue sort of that way. And then I'm a big fan of using the really lightweight and really small lithium batteries. So that solves the problem of where do you put your massive battery? Well, guess what? Your battery's not massive anymore.
Yes.
So that fixes it. And also they have like that restart function. So if you leave the car sitting, which this does get sit around for weeks at a time, hit the button and away you go. So anyway, and it'll look nice, I reckon, with a bit of alloy piping down there, maybe a 45.
And it'll sound good, most importantly. Because the engine is so small, and I think the trick with these cars is 3 cylinders do have a particular kind of note to them.
Yeah.
5 cylinders, obviously, everyone knows, but 3 cylinders do have a kind of a chunkiness to them, and when they're turbocharged, I think they sound pretty special.
Yep. It's interesting, this is also an E-Series Daihatsu motor, which is the same one they put in heaps of stuff. So even the one that was in our Seoul, EJ, that was a 1 litre. This is a 660. This is like the original single overhead cam 660. This is the one that the drag racers use. Because apparently this will cop heaps of boost. So even though that little turbo is not going to supply heaps, like you'd have to look at upgrading it. The good thing is with all this work done and with some work to the engine, the sky's kind of the limit.
Let's address one thing quickly, Martin, because I know there's going to be a lot of you out there that are like, I've got a Hyundai Excel and it makes more power than that. Obviously, Golf GTIs make more power than this. Like any car that you can pick makes more power.
Correct.
What is it about this? What is the special sauce, Martin?
That's a good question. And what I'll start with is by deciding to keep this engine and the purity, but convert it to drive-by-wire, I wanted everything that was like spiritually what this car was about. So the same engine that was in it when we found it in a scrap heap, and Mr. Sato pointed to his backyard and went, go and get your drift car.
Scrap corner.
Which one is it? Oh,
It just doesn't feel right to rip the engine out. There are other engines that'll fit. You can put a 1 litre in this and make double the power. But I feel like this it's quite revvy for what it is. It keeps it like proper Kei Car as well, because it's not a 1 litre. It's not a 1 litre. And by adapting it with some modern fancy tech, it'll actually drive as nice as one of them.
and that adapter plate is the one that was actually 3D printed, right, and then cast. So that is that,
Yeah,
right?
so I scanned the gasket. So this side I scanned, and I sent that to Miles, and I sort of made a very rough version myself in, I think, SketchUp or something. And then he's like, "Nah, bro, I got this." And he redid it for me in Fusion 360 and built this up. And so this side is the Bosch throttle body, which is obviously electronic throttle body. So it's a very basic adapter.
That's really
You
cool.
could fabricate that just out of some aluminium, but it's just cool. And then we sent this file away and got it made out of aluminium on a CNC overseas, and got it sent back. It was a couple of $100.
That's really cool, man.
And you know what? That happened quite a while ago. These days, that's even cheaper. And you could even 3D print that in metal now.
Yeah.
With crazy like SLS printing or whatever it's called. So it's a cool way. That unlocks all the modern stuff. The other thing that unlocks the modern stuff is modifying the distributor. So we've got the triggering for the computer. That's the nerdiest and trickiest part. This stuff here, the nerdiest and trickiest part is turning this old thing
Into this, right?
into that. So how do you get the ignition to fire at the correct time? Back in the day, you just spin a thing around and it would touch it at the right time, and that would be what you need. But this is the modern way to do it. But we need more information. So I've got some parts that should arrive hopefully today to modify this to give it a modern signal that a modern ECU can then interpret to fire them sequentially, which means it'll feel like a modern car.
Nice.
Instead of like a tractor. You drive an 80s car and it feels a bit like, it just makes it feel modern. So that's what we're up to, and in the meantime, just fabricate some stuff.
And those parts are coming from a friend of Turbo Yoda's, right?
Yeah, a friend called Timmy who makes these for he makes them for lots of old Datsuns and stuff. He makes basically to adapt so that you can get rid of he hates carbies. I'm like, I do too. And so he makes these things to adapt them so that your old car can run a modern EFI.
Somewhere Isaac just started.
No, they're fine. They got their purpose, but this is a weird in between. This is like, because they had this system from when everything was carby, because a lot of Miras were, then this is sort of the in between in the late 80s to 90s, and then just a few years after this, it went to the modern sensors, which are this big.
Yeah.
So
And
this all goes in the bin.
It will drive better.
It'll drive great.
Sorry, but it will.
Actually will. All right. Hello. Welder's calling. Bye. Everything I've done so far is pretty much within my wheelhouse, putting on intercoolers and moving turbos around and stuff. I love that stuff, wiring I'm not too scared of. This, however, isn't something I have personally done before. So I'm going to have to customize the original angle sensor, cam angle sensor, with some new internals that gives it a modern trigger type. So instead of this little thing we spoke about before, these little 3 things here that's picked up by a sensor and then has a distributor on the top, we're going to be using this wheel with this sensor. And as you can see, it turns around, and then the sensor detects a break in the pattern. So we then set cylinder 1, 2, and 3, and the brake tells it when there's a reset. This will make sense once we put the Haltech in, but that's the basic theory of it. What you're doing though is you're putting that onto the shaft, you are setting a sensor into the cap somewhere, and you essentially want to spin it via the camshaft so that it's just the right distance away from that. So the trick now is repurposing the original thing, gutting that, putting this new shaft in, potentially modifying this shaft so it fits, then putting the wheel on, then putting a sensor on. It's a little bit more like machining and a bit less hacking. So cross my fingers and see what happens. The trickiest part is we have to adapt this thing that sits in the back of the cam, which is how it gets spun around, with a little dowel through it, a little pin through it. We have to adapt that. So you can straight away see it's the wrong length, so I'm gonna have to do something to customize this to make it work. But shout out to Timmy from 16 Industries. This is what he does. Now he doesn't make it for a Daihatsu Mira, but he sent me all the guts of what he uses to make them and said, customize at your will. So that's what I'm gonna do.
Take the wheel, let's go, I'll follow you. Say my name, I'll do anything you wanna do. On the run, we're chasing headlights. The road destroyed, let's make some noise. We'll make the whole world hear us tonight. And I need you now more than ever.
The shaft has been shortened. I also put a bit of aluminium sleeve on there as well to stop it moving up and down. Then the wheel can go on the top like so. Stick one of these through there, tighten that down. It's got a lock washer on it as well so it doesn't move around. And then all I got to do is work out how to mount the sensor in the Dizzy cap. Now this is where you could and should design up a new one, 3D print it, do whatever. I want to make sure it works, I want to get it running, and I'm in a hurry, and I'm not that good at designing stuff in 3D. So what I am going to do is put the sensor through the side of the cap, and that is a good starting point, and also easier to design the cap, which might also have like a flat top on it and not need these posts on it anymore. So that's the last piece of the puzzle.
And we own the sky, on the edge we're so alive. Red line, open up and come to me. The faster we go, the faster we are free. And I need you now more than ever, more than ever. And I hear you now more than ever, more than ever. We can hide our faces from light. When we run, we're chasing midnight. We feel the lows and we feel the highs, but everything will be alright. Let's pretend we own these highways, all the miles and risks that we take. We own the road and we own the sky. As the sun goes down on our city, the only sound is our breathing. We own this town. We rule the crowd and the streets fall down. We ignite them with our sound.
There we go, a whole bunch of progress on the Mira. It's not about doing everything at once, it's about just picking some jobs and making that thing work.
Next episode, obviously get the thing finished, and then I think Marty's going to hit the dyno, see how much power it can make. I do think it is one of the most iconic cars we've ever had on the show. It does have a lot of memories imbued in that vehicle. It is more than just the metal and plastic and nuggety glass and nuggety engine that it has. So yeah, there it is. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time for more Man in the Mirror.
Nuggets.
More